this is Elizabeth Daniels, and my presentation is on socioeconomic status and political participation. We have the opportunity to vote, but it's up to us on what we choose to do. Before I started researching this, I did not know anything about how political participation and social class were connected. I was interested in this topic because I'm almost at the age where I can vote. I wanted to know more about why people do not vote and how we participate in politics. I discovered that political participation has a lot to do with socioeconomic status in the United States. In other words, the poor participate less. Our country is a republican democracy, which means that who we vote for, how many people vote, it has an impact on who governs us from a day-to-day basis. We have to participate in politics in order to effect change. Everyone has a voice in our government regardless of age, race, or money. These fundamental values of our country make the United States of America different from other countries. Ironically, despite these values, voting in the United States has the lowest rates of participation, historically and in comparison to other Western democracies. Democracy is meant to represent everyone. The poor display the lowest level of participation. My stasis article analyzed how much a person participates in politics to their social class or socioeconomic status. The general conclusion of this article is that the rich participate more and the poor participate less. The poor in general participate less in politics because of restrictions when voting, time, and placement of election days. There are many physical and psychological barriers to voting or participating politically. There are 6 levels of participation, and this matters because as we understand each type of participation, we can understand why people do or don't participate and how it affects the voter turnout. Cognitive participation is gathering knowledge by watching television or listening to radio. Expressive participation is talking about politics. Organizational participation is belonging to a group. Roughly 60% of Americans belong to some voluntary organization. It doesn't matter if the group is political or not. Every group participation is related to political participation because the groups you belong to or where you work can provide more opportunities, encouragement, and access to be able to participate politically. There are different degrees of participation that everyone can participate in. These different levels of participation are not independent. In fact, they build off of each other. Electoral participation is being able to vote. In the 1972, 1976, and 1980 presidential elections, only 54% of the population voted. In theory, since only 54% of the population voted for president, the president only represents 54% of the population of America. This means that the poor are indirectly represented by others. This indirect representation often misrepresents the interests of the poor. There are few benefits for the poor that are not there in policies and do not only benefit the poor but benefit others as well. The political system is open to anyone who gets involved. Theoretically, everyone should be able to participate in our country's government. This article states the American philosophy that individuals are responsible for their own fates and successes. However, when poor citizens lack the availability, time, and energy and resources to participate in political process, this would be a misrepresentation to say that it is their fault that they don't participate. We belong to a republican democracy where elected officials are to represent and make decisions for all those citizens that they represent. Those in lower socioeconomic classes are not being adequately represented. This lack of representation is a hole in what the United States of America represents. This is an important concept of democracy, and everyone should be able to participate. The rules apply to everyone, and anyone should have the option to be governor or another elected official. This article specifically states people should act within our rules to influence public policy. Access to political arena should be open to anyone. Anyone can compete for power, and today's losers may be tomorrow's winners. These are the fundamentals of our country. Although when today's candidates run, they are responsible for actions that they wouldn't necessarily influence the political ruling. Both of these statements stimulate unwillingness. A barrier to voting is registration. The United States citizens have to register themselves, often well before voting day. This declined participation rates as compared to other countries. Countries that automatically register their citizens would increase the voting percentage by 9%, In other words, 12 million more people would be able to vote. Many are told the ways to effectively make changes to vote, participate in politics, and etc. This is true, but this is also extremely difficult for those that don't have the time, resources to participate. But the only way to change things is not available to those issues who need the most. This graph represents how the rich participate more in politics and the poor participate less by voter percentage. Turnout on Tuesdays, coping with voting procedures, getting registered, overcoming the problem posed by multiple elections, and getting to all the polls frequently all contribute to lower rates of participation by the poor. Even if these citizens didn't already have a lack of physiological and physical resources, fixing these problems will raise the percentage of voter turnout on a regular basis. These are possible solutions to the increasing of the percentage of voters. What is the action? Well, there are many complicated things in the United States of America's electoral process. The popular vote was one part of this complicated process. The voter turnout and political participation have many barriers for our population. One of the things that you have to do is participate on its organizational and electoral level is register. There is a simple solution that can make the voting process more simple and accessible to everyone. Right now, in order to vote in America, you have to register. This is a complicated process that can take several weeks and lots of time. Voting is a constitutional right, and the citizens of the United States of America are registered by the Constitution to have the opportunity to vote. Removing a structural barrier would make voting easier. A solution to this problem is automatic registration, election day registration, or removing registration in its total. This article states that removing registration in its total will make voting easier and more accessible to those with less time on his hands. Beagley argues that to increase voter turnout, such as removing structural barriers, such as voter registration, is positive is a good idea. An implementation of Beagley's suggestion. This is the author of my Stasis article. Suggestion can be seen in Oregon. Some of Oregon's counties automatic voter registration was made possible and saw a huge increase in voter turnout. If anyone has an interaction with the DMV or driver's department of their state, it will automatically register them to vote. This puts them on a list called the voter roll. This citizen then receives mail that gives them the option to opt out. This changes the system dramatically. This gives people that move or new drivers an automatic chance to vote. This also increases the young population that votes and makes it cheap, makes it more accurate and secure. This seems like a really good fix for the United States of America. Automatic registration would fix so many problems, so why not? Automatic registration, voter registration has been a way to lower structural barriers for lower income citizens of the United States. This proposal has several issues, however. It can lead to mandatory voting, which violates constitutional rights, enables voting fraud, and allows non-citizens to vote. Constitutional rights advocate freedom of choice. This article changes the term of automatic voter registration to manual voter registration. My interrogation article. That forcing those to vote or even be registered is unconstitutional. While automatic voter registrations appears to be airtight, there are some loopholes. The simplest explanation of this is a college student that has a driver's license in California then moves to Utah for school. They are now on voter rolls in Utah and California. This enables them to vote in both states. While this is unintentional, it can create problems. This creates corruption in the voter process. Pre-day registration cannot happen because citizens intend to register but never get around to it. It is hard to register because the deadline is a month in advance. This can be a huge barrier. Other citizens say that it is inconvenient and they do not know how to register. If automatically registered, a huge percentage of people would be able to vote. If you make it easier for people to register to vote, they will vote. In conclusion, voting is an integral part of American society and everyone has a right to vote. Overcoming barriers that prevent citizens to exercise this right are vast and complex. Attention and policy should be put in place to help all those who want to participate in the electoral process. Thanks.